Good evening everyone and welcome to the Scientist Reverse Grid League tonight here in the Einstein League in beautiful South France at Paul Ricard. As you can see, the French team Alpine is on pole. Castro is driving the Alpine tonight. Behind him, D'Cunha, Pelagil, Durdan, Mumrem, Spooner, Moshe, Professor Zoo, Walter B. Robb, Scientist, Wisburn, Nick, and Paul in his McLaren in P14. The Drivers' and Constructors' Championship is still very, very close. Here in Newton, of course, we're just at the beginning of the season. But sometimes you have a clear favourite for the championship. In the Einstein League, we have Professor Zoo in P1 at the moment. In his Haas, he is at 132 points. Casto behind with 118.5. Rob with 116.5. And behind them, there's a bigger gap to Walter B with 88, Scientist with 80, and Nick with 78 points. So Walter B, Scientist, and Nick are clearly the challengers for the top three at the moment. And then our Constructors' Haas is leading the way with 166 points. Alpine 159.5, so only 6.5 points behind. Williams with 142, Mercedes 140.5. So still very, very close. Nothing's decided yet, of course. And here at France, it's really critical to keep that car on track, especially on traction. And also looking at the weather, because right now it's pretty cloudy. You never know what the weather will bring around here. We will have a look at the full track map, the telemetry, and also, of course, at position changes, pit stops, tires, and penalties. Talking about tires, we have Pelagil, the only one, the top 5 on mediums, then Professor Zoo, Walterby, and the last 4 guys on mediums. Everyone else starts on softs here. The drivers get ready for the start, and we are getting ready for the start too. 5 red lights out right now. Castro with a good start, defending his position from D'Cunha in a very good way, but he's already on attack from Durdan and Pelagil, going down to the first corner. D'Cunha going wide to avoid the cars, but he's staying in front of all these guys in P2. Castro is a happy man right now because D'Cunha has to defend himself from all the guys, and Castro has free air. Nothing too wild happened here. At the back we have a few position changes. Wisburn P13, Professor Zoo lost 2 positions from P8 to P10. And now Rob is overtaking. Mumrem's going down the order. What's up with Mumrem? Maybe he lost his car or got a little tap from behind, but he's losing positions here. Down to P12 now. Scientist going down the inside. Mumrem too, making it stick against Spooner. Mumrem over the curbs here to get the position. P11 for him. Scientist up to P10 now. And Nick very close behind Professor Zoo, both on mediums, following him around. Going side by side into that long snail corner. The long right-hander making the overtake stick for the moment, but Professor Zoo still on the inside. Oh, and Nick is leaving only a little bit of space, but just enough. And Scientist is smelling something here. He tries to overtake Zoo too. They're all on mediums. Nick, Zoo, and Scientist all on mediums. I think Walterby too. Yeah, he's also on mediums. Castor already with a 1.4 second lead ahead of D'Cunha, which is crucial. And Pelagil is he's not very close. It's just, I never broken my eyes. Shit. He's 1.7 behind D'Cunha, so no threat at the moment here regarding DRS. Moshe trying to attack Rob, or Rob trying to attack Moshe. Getting P5 here. Moshe down to P6. And Walterby behind, waiting to gain another position. Let's see who had the best start here. It's clearly Rob and Nick, both gained 5 positions. Bad starts from Mumram and Spooner. Spooner down by 8 positions, down to P14, and Mumram down 6 positions. We've watched that. Just 1 lap ago. Nobody on penalties at the moment. We're only on lap 2, but with F1, you never know. Moshe very close behind Rob. Both on soft tyres, so they both have to make them work right now. All the guys behind, Walter, Nick, Zoo, and Scientist, are benefiting from that train, which will result in a DRS train, and they're on medium, so they can save the tyres, maybe even attack one of these guys to get another position and make these mediums work, while Moshe gets his first penalty of the race, 3 seconds from multiple warnings. Wisburn and Mumram fighting for P11. And at the front, the gaps are pretty big right now. D'Cunha is 2 seconds behind Casto, Pelagil 1.7 behind D'Cunha, and Durdan 2.8 behind Pelagil. And Durdan is the one who's leading the DRS train right now, and that train goes down to P13. They're all within a second of each other, so they all have DRS. That's the big thing around France here. The DRS train is a real big thing. Oh, and Rob is going for it down the inside, cutting off Durdan there a little bit, but making it stick, getting P4 with an aggressive move. Well, he had to. He's on softs. He has to get a gap between himself and Durdan now to break the DRS, to not be the leading car in that DRS train, because that's absolutely bloody horrible. Durdan trying to attack Rob again. Nick overtaking Moshe. I think Walterby's also going for the overtake against Moshe now. We see him there on the outside. Oh, and someone spun. It's Scientist and Durdan. Scientist and Durdan. Rob is coming into the pits. He doesn't want to be the leading car of that train, and I saw that Durdan maybe spun. And very, very unfortunate. A lot of pit stops right now. Rob, we've seen that he's coming into the pits. Professor Zoo also into the pits. Now he started on medium, so there must be a different reason. Maybe damage to his car. We will see in a few seconds as soon as he's in. Yeah, there's a new wing waiting for him. Scientist also with a new wing. Paul also into the pits, but he's already out. He's on softs. He's trying to make them work. Rob started on softs. That means he will be on mediums right now. Zoo is on softs to make that one a little bit easier. So only Scientist going onto the hard tires. Everyone else is on softs at the moment from those guys who have pitted. Scientist in last place now. Of course, he had a double stack moment there with Durdan. Both came into the pits. No, it's a bloody lie. Durdan didn't come into the pits, so maybe just the wing change cost him a lot of time here. Closest battle on track right now. Walterby against Nick. Both on mediums. No damage for them. And then there's a gap of 2 seconds to Wisburn. So that whole DRS train got completely destroyed by that incident there, resulting in multiple cars coming into the pits because of damage, and leaving only Nick and Walterby behind for their own little DRS train. Moshe in the DRS of Wisburn, only half a second behind him. And penalties right now to Moshe, Durdan and Paul. Paul got his 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane, while Mumram is coming into the pit. He's on soft tires, and Walterby is coming closer to Nick. Is he going for the move here? No, he's backing off. He wants to have the DRS at the end of the long straight to make the overtake stick. France can be a little bit cruel to your soft tires, so you have to really manage them. If you stop that early for them, like most of the guys did on lap 3, maybe they're also hoping for a safety car, maybe a virtual safety car, to do second stop for another stint on the softs. Right now that's history. Will also be overtaking Nick. That's also history now. With the help of DRS on the long straight. Let's use this chance to switch back to Mumram against Professor Zoo and Paul. They're all in a little DRS train, those green cars, and Zoo is attacking Mumram here down the inside with the help of DRS. Very easy task. Going for P10, Mumram P11, and Paul only 2 tenths behind Mumram. Now also going for the overtake, as we can see here. Paul going down the inside against Mumram. Mumram down on ERS. Paul on the inside, staying on the inside, side by side, both guys looking very clean and fair. Nice battle from those two, with Paul gaining another position up to P11 for him now, after he already did his pit stop. We have D'Cunha and Durden both in the pits now. They're pitting for mediums. Let's see where they come out. D'Cunha is already out. He is in P7. That's a comfortable position because, as we can see, everyone in front of him still has to pit, and this will be a battle between him and Pelagio probably for P2. He's onto the mediums, doing a little undercut on Pelagio with the early move, having fresh tyres, then that those used softs. Let's see if he can make that count for himself. Well, we have Nick very, very close behind Wolterby at the moment. Only 2 tenths. They're both fighting for P3. And both haven't pitted yet. They're on medium, so they can try to stretch their stint a little bit longer and speculating on that safety car. Or one of those guys is just going for it and doing the undercut on the other guy. But we are on lap 7 now. Castro into the pits, and neither of those guys pitted, so they're staying out. Those mediums will probably work pretty good right now at the moment on only lap 7. Castro's coming out in P4 now. Wisben, Mosher also into the pits. D'Cunha's overtaken them, of course, which brings him up to P5. Castro staying ahead, around 4 seconds. So very comfortable pit stop by Castro to gain the net lead back. If I'm not mistaken, they're only Pelagio and Wolterby still not pitted. Nick gets a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, so we have Pelagio, Walter, and Nick who haven't pitted yet. Castro is around 18 seconds behind Pelagio, so he should stay in P1 after his pit stop. Pelagio is coming around the last few corners here. Professor Zoo and Rob are fighting very hard at the moment, but I want to say if he's coming into the pits, yeah, Pelagio is coming into the pits, switching back to Rob and Professor Zoo, who are fighting for P7 now, but it's net P4, I think. Wolterby gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. That's absolutely horrible. As you can see here, Rob on mediums, Professor Zoo on softs. Both pitted early, but of course the mediums will carry Rob a little bit longer than those softs. Everyone in the top 3 is pitting right now. Castro back in the lead, and D'Cunha trying to make the undercut work against Pelagio, and it worked. He's a few seconds ahead of Pelagio now. It's 3 seconds. So that was very good work by D'Cunha, getting the pit stop earlier than Pelagio and having a good gap to him, not to have him in his DRS. On mediums, Pelagio is on softs because he started on mediums who have yellow flags in sector 1. It's a Mercedes. That must be Rob, and it was Rob. 3 seconds of scientists. That was Rob. He's down to P12 now. Something must have happened there. I think he was battling with Professor Zoo, maybe with Paul, because Paul is very close behind Professor Zoo now. And he's going for the overtake, going for P7. Making it stick. Oh, we have someone else there. We have Moshe, who's flying down that long straight in his AlphaTauri dirt. I'm getting 3 seconds now. Spooner, Mumram fighting Spooner down the inside. Making the move stick. P10 for him now. Vicuña 4.5 behind Castro, so a pretty solid lead now. But as you can see, Mumram is now going for the overtake against Spooner down the inside into that long right-hander. Getting P10 back against Spooner. Spooner is trying to attack him down the inside. Something happened to Walterby. Oh, Walterby lost his car. Or maybe there was a little tingle-tangle, but he's now down to P9. And that's absolutely horrible for him. Because he had the chance to attack the top 4, top 5 maybe. Mumram and Spooner still fighting very hard here. Mumram P10, Spooner P11 at the moment. Spooner going around the outside, so they're battling very hard, those guys. Nice move. Mumram getting a 3-second time penalty while battling with Spooner. Let's see where we have really close gaps now. Oh, we have a little DRS train here. Between Paul, Zoo, Moshe and Walterby. And we're staying with Moshe here for the moment because he's sandwiched by those cars. There we can see the most movement between these cars. And Zoo is attacking Paul, going down the inside, leaving each other enough space. That's also costing time against Moshe, who now sees his chance here to get... Well, that was close, but still fair. Oh, Walterby! He just sneaked through, and then he let Moshe pass again. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why, because that was a sneaky good move. So yeah, it is what it is. Walterby. Oh, Walterby will be up to P8 because Professor Zoo is pitting. He thinks that his soft tires won't make it till the end. Maybe he has damage. Maybe he was involved in that incident with Walter. Moshe getting a 3-second time penalty, which could cost him a lot. And Nick is kind of free from Walterby now, but he has Wisbin behind. Only 0.8 of a second. That means DRS is there, and also 50% of ERS. And Nick is down on ERS, so Wisbin on soft tires. I think on fresher softs. Let's see. Not sure. Oh, both pretty fresh soft tires. Moshe getting the position against Paul. Walterby there. But yeah, let's stick with Wisbin and Nick, because that's the fight for P4. Of course, Nick has the penalty, so Wisbin has a big advantage here because of that. But still, 3 laps to go, so anything's possible. Rob really close behind Spooner, fighting for P9 now. Let's switch to them because they could go on the long part of the straight here. Rob going down the inside for a beautiful move against Spooner, but Spooner is still there around the outside, holding the position, has now the inside line. Rob is trying to get him around the outside here. He does, and that's a beautiful move for P9. And Palagil and Vicuña are fighting for P2 so all of a sudden. So Palagil worked his way up on his soft tires, and he almost overtook Vicuña. Big advantage for him is that he will have the DRS now, and Vicuña gets a penalty, so that's also another big advantage for Palagil here, who will have DRS and ERS on the next straight. Has more ERS than Vicuña. Vicuña has the penalty, so that should be it. Now we're switching to Palagil's onboard. Vicuña going to the defensive line on the inside, staying there, very good. Oh, he's still defending it. IEA, they touched. Vicuña almost losing the car. But Palagil, oh, as a result, Palagil also gets a penalty. The move was clean, but Palagil also gets a penalty. That's good news to Castro, who's already 6.5 seconds in front and has no penalty at the moment. And Wisbin is now the guy who's laughing out loud because Let's watch the penalties. They all got 3. Wisbin's there. If Wisbin can overtake Nick and then attack the times of the other guys, he could have the jump up to P2. It's still 2 and a bit laps to go. So let's see what happens here. Castro coming around the last corner to go on lap 12 of 13. So last 2 laps now. Palagil ahead of D'Cunha, 7.5 tenths around about. We also have a close battle between both McLarens and the AlphaTauri of Moscha. Moscha with the DRS, Paul also with the DRS because he got it from his teammate. He's now out of DRS at the moment. Staying with Moscha here. Moscha now with the DRS against Paul. Massive overspeed here, and he's getting P7 against his McLaren rival. He's on 6 seconds of penalties. Paul on 5, Walt on 8. So this is very, very close. And Wisbin is now going for the overtake against Nick, and he has it. He overtook Nick now, and that's the big chance for the last lap, which is coming up in a few moments, to gain a few tens on Palagil and D'Cunha. But Nick is pressurizing Wisbin. So Wisbin needs to get a very quick lap, and he has more than 50% of ERS left, and he needs to use that. He needs to defend from Nick, because that is costing him time. That is just costing him time. He needs to attack Nick and the guys ahead of him as hard as he can. He's not on any penalties, and the gap now is around 3.5-4 seconds. He needs to get that ERS down. Paul and Moscha fighting very hard, and Paul saying goodbye into the wall, losing his front wing. Rob behind, seeing it, smelling it, going for it. Back to Wisbin, P5 attacking Nick. Thanks for the shit camera angle. Wisbin going for the Sector 1, yellow flag. It's a Ferrari, it's Mumram, down to P14. And now Wisbin has to go for it. He has to go for it, at least P3. He needs more than half a second to gain on these guys, and then he gets P2. He's using his ERS now, and now he's coming for it. 2.7. He needs another 2 tens, and he has it. He's absolutely sending it now. Sorry, Casto, I think we won't follow you over the line. Maybe we will, but let's see what we have here. We have yellow flags. Who is that in Sector 3? I didn't see anyone. Casto coming over the line. P1 for him. Palagil D'Cunha fighting for P2, but Wisbin also there. And Wisbin, he has to push very hard now. Everything he has, it's P3. 4 tens behind Palagil. He didn't make the Merica work, but he is P3, and that's pretty impressive, because he gained 9 positions from P12 to P3. We have Durdan having a little moment here, going into last position. Mumram overtaking him. Scientists, I think, had fuel issues here, losing 2 positions on the last few meters here on the line, over the line, going back to P11. I don't know why Codemasters does that after the guys cross the line and penalties are already worked out. They're just switching positions. Drive of the day from Codemasters is Wisbin after gaining 9 positions from P12 and driving onto the podium. Speaking of drive of the day, everyone in the Scientist Reverse Grid League has the opportunity to vote for his personal driver of the day in the Drive of the Day community channel. It doesn't have to be the same driver that Codemasters has chosen. You can choose the same guy, of course, nothing wrong with that. But you can also choose someone else who impressed you the most. So just feel free to go for it. That's our final results. Casto winning this race very comfortably. Palagio in P2, Wisbon P3. D'Cunha going down to P4 because of penalties, and Nick P5, Walter and Rob in P6 and 7. Then Spooner, Moshe, Professor Zoo, Scientist finishing P11, Paul P12, Mama P13, and Durdan P14. Doing a quick screenshot. Don't be surprised about the blue screen. Fastest lap goes to Professor Zoo with a 131.7. So that gives an extra point to him. And that was it for France here. Paul Ricard, our first race of the night. Of course, we will have another race on this stream. The stream won't be paused. We will be on it for the next minutes of break. And then we continue at the US and A. That being said, we take about a 10-minute break. I will be off mic, so everyone who's watching also has the chance of a quick break, and we will hear from each other within the next 10 minutes. Welcome back everyone here at the USA, at the Circuit of the Americas. And as you can see, we have a little bit of rain. That's nice, because that track is already tricky. And with rain, it makes it even more unpredictable. It looks like intermediate weather. It's not full wet, because you can't see standing water. But you never know how that weather will change. Maybe more into dry weather, or maybe even more rain. But looking at the clouds, it seems like it's clearing up a little bit. Maybe we have a race where on the last few laps we could see a safety car and then maybe dry weather. That makes it really interesting. Or maybe we have to switch to full wets during the race, or it stays an inters, which makes it a little bit boring regarding to pit stops, but not boring regarding to racing and battles on track and battles with the car itself around this tricky track here in the USA, in Texas. To be honest, I think we've never seen a wet race in real life here in Texas, because Texas is not known for rainy weather. But fortunately, Codemasters often has different plans with the guys who are running in a league race here tonight in the Einstein League. Our winner from France, Castor, will start at the back, which also means that Durdan, who finished last, will start on pole for this race. We will see that any second. Here we are. Durdan starting in P1. Behind him, Mumram, Paul, Scientist Zoo, Moshe Spooner, Rob, Walter B, Nick, DeCunia, Wisburn, Palagil, and Castor. The complete opposite order of our finish at France, because we had no DNFs at all. And let's see if everyone is really starting on inters, because normally Mumram is the one who's trying something different, but it looks like there's only one chance he can go for, and he's also going for the intermediate tire. So nothing too special here. We will keep a look at the telemetry, because ERS is a big thing here, because in the rain DRS is deactivated. With the full track map on the bottom right, you can follow your favorite driver around the track during the race to see where he's at and in which battles he is. I think we lost Mumram here. Yeah, we lost Mumram on the formation up. He had a little moment coming out of the exit onto the long straight while warming up his tires. Doesn't change anything regarding his grip position. He's trying to make up that ground now to climb P2 back here, but he has to be very careful to not touch any other car, because then they will be disqualified from the formation lap. Especially in the rain, a lap around here is pretty long. Normally in a race you're around a 135 maybe, could go up to 150 here on intermediate tires. So a long lap here in the wet on the Circuit of the Americas, as the boys coming onto the main straight and forming the grid. We see that there's a big gap to Spooner in P7. Maybe that could cost some of these guys a little bit of temperature in their tires at the front. They're forming up now. We're switching to Durdan for the start to see what's about to happen into turn 1 uphill in the rain here in the USA. Everyone has formed up on the grid now. Green flags are there, and the 5 red lights will go on and out any second. Durdan starting on pole position. Mumram seems like having a very good start. Let's see. Oh no, that start wasn't that good. He's losing a position. And Scientist is coming through here down the middle. To the corner, Scientist down the inside. Saw the gap. And he and his teammate are in P1 and P2 at the moment. Mumram back to P3. Yellow flags. We have a car behind. That's Castor. And he lost his wing. His wing is completely gone. Where did he lose his wing? He must have crashed into another car. That's pretty horrible for him. Durdon in P1, 8 tenths behind his teammate. Already second gap to Mumram. Professor Zoo and Paul are fighting at the moment, side by side, down the left-hander. Now downhill into the hard braking zone, into the next left-hander, onto the main straight. It's really crucial to stay in front of the guy you're battling with, because DRS isn't activated here. Scientist and Durdon changed positions. Maybe they did that to save Scientist a little bit at the front, because he seems like the quicker driver of them too. So maybe they're doing some tactic battles here, and they could work. Oh, Professor Zoo is still there, and Paul and him, they touched wheels. That sends Paul half spinning, and in the rain it feels like a complete spin, which results in P13 for Paul, down from P7. Walter be gaining a position against Nick. Cutting the corner a little bit. Nick trying to stay in there on the outside. Here's Wisbon right behind in P9 at the moment, who already gained 3 positions. A little bit of touching going on there with Mumram leading the train. Mumram, Moshe, Rob and Zoo. Scientist already 1.7 seconds ahead of Durdon, who has a gap of 1.2 to Mumram, but now Moshe, because Moshe overtook him, but has a bit moment there. Rob in the ship mix, right side by side with Moshe, backing off for the moment, not risking anything here. And Moshe is completely offline through the S's here at the USA Grand Prix. Oy, 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 that was very tight. Professor Zoo cutting the whole corner to not get touched by Moshe. Rob now in P4, and Moshe has another moment side by side with Zoo. Zoo on the outside in P6 at the moment, locking up a little bit, but still there, having a better exit, but almost running into the car of Moshe, which backs him off into Walterby, who's only 2 tenths behind. Takunya gaining a position against Spooner, and back again. So they're fighting now. Takunya P11 right now, going for P10 down the inside into the braking zone. Oh, they touch a little bit. Takunya running a little bit wide, which results in Spooner losing another position, running into the back of Takunya, losing a part of his wing. Takunya going off track. So it's going on here. It is going on. And Palajul gaining a position against Spooner, down to P12 now for him. And he's probably pitting because he has wing damage. He lets Paul by. Yeah, poor Spooner has damage to his car to the left side of his wing. Casto is still on track. Yeah, he has pitted. Scientist with the fastest lap now. Already a gap of 4 seconds to his teammate. And Rob is now closing the gap to Durdon. So only on lap 3, the boys have reached Durdon, trying to attack him. Rob down the inside, running a little bit into the back of Durdon here. Spooner into the pits, pitting for a new front wing and for fresh tyres. Oh, Durdon completely missing the line, coming back on track right in front of Rob, who has to brake hard to avoid Durdon here, which sends him right in front of Zoo, and we have a virtual safety car. A virtual safety car out now. I think that's because of Mumram. Mumram is down to P12 all of a sudden, and he has no wing. So yeah, it's probably because of Mumram. Maybe he had an incident. He lost his the whole wing is completely gone. So he has to pit too, and that virtual safety car could help him a little bit if he has the chance to pit under virtual safety car conditions. So the gap from Scientist to Durdon, 6.5 seconds. Rob is very close behind Durdon, but that gives Scientist a lot of breathing time now to stay ahead and to just let that lap flow on and just stay with the gap to Durden, who's around 6 to 6.5 behind Scientist now. The boys have to watch the delta at the moment. Green flags, and that's the chance for Rob already to go for it. Durden defending, Professor Zoo really close behind, and Rob sees the gap on the inside there, but Durden is closing in, taking a little bit of a wider line, but still all Gucci there. And Rob has to go for the overtake as soon as possible, because he has Professor Zoo pressuring him behind, and he has to overtake Durden as quick as he can to attack Scientist. All the boys from behind have the chance to close the gaps now to Durden and Rob, because Rob is clearly losing time here. Of course, he's not going for a reckless move, especially in the rain. It's too tricky, it's too dangerous also, so you have to be very, very careful. But now Durden takes a wider line, and Rob has more speed out of the exit here, but still not there to overtake him. Now only 0.3 of a second behind, trying to get the better exit. That's a good exit. He just gained 1/10 there. Both using ERS to the fullest here. Durden trying to defend with everything he has. Rob going down the inside, braking a tiny bit later. Nothing wrong with that. Durden turning into Rob, but everything good there for the moment. Durden defending from Professor Zoo now down to P3. Zoo is coming for the position down the inside, now on the outside for the next left-hander. You have to be very careful in the wet, especially driving behind another car. You don't see much. And now he's going for the overtake down the inside, now on the outside for the next left-hander. Side by side through that corner, but both making it very, very fair and clean. Also for the last corner here, taking the outside line, no touching going on, very good. Durden closing the gap for Walterby, who's now going for the overtake on the inside. Has more speed out of the exit. Durden taking a wide line to defend from Walterby, and now Nick is also there. They touched a little bit. Mosher gaining P6 from Nick. So a lot of going on here behind Rob now, but he has a 1.4 second gap. Oh, Mosher running completely wide. And Durden also completely off track. What is going on, guys? Nick gaining P6 back, now going for P5 against Durden. Walterby already in penalty, and there it is. There's the chance for Nick to get the overtake. Sorry for the angles there. Was a little bit off. And Nick now trying to go for it. Yellow flag, sector 2. I think that's Cunha. That's Cunha. He had a moment. 2 seconds now behind Paul in P11. And Nick is going for the overtake against Durden, side by side on the long straight, down into the hard braking zone. Nick braking later, down the inside, making it stick, and there's Wisburn! Oh, the double overtake! What a move! He saw the gap on the inside, he went for it, and he made it stick. Beautiful move by him, up to P6, and now Durden and Mosher are fighting for P7. And we have Pellegrini behind in P9, being patient now together with Paul in P10. Trying to see a mistake here and go for it. But the gap from Scientist to Rob is now already up to 7.7 seconds. Professor Zoo is around a second behind Rob. So Scientist pretty safe at the moment. 8 seconds is the gap, so he has good pace, very consistent. And making everything work here at the moment on lap 6 of 14, which means we're only like 45% through the whole race. Three-second time penalty for Professor Zoo, which could cost him a lot at the end of the race, because only him and Walterby have yellow flags. Paul is out. Paul DNF'd. Paul is out of this race. Yellow flags, no safety car at the moment, or virtual safety car. Only yellow flags in the S's. Let's see if we can see what happened here. His car must be somewhere here on the right side. There it is, in the wall. He hit the wall. He's out of the race. Very bad news for McLaren. No safety car, no virtual safety car. And Rob and Zhu are going for it. Zhu is going for it. Down the inside. Going for P2. Mumler with a penalty. Rob staying there on the outside. Now on the inside. Fighting for P2. Knowing that DRS is not a factor here. And that the track position is everything. Now Zhu on the inside has the way better line. With the long right-handers here. And Rob has to back off, but he's putting the nose in like a maniac. He's staying there. He doesn't want to lose that position at all costs. He's just staying in. But now Zhu has it. Zhu up to P2, and now Rob's only chance to get P2 back is stay right behind Zhu within a 3-second gap. Scientist now with a 9-second gap to Zhu. So all he has to do is stay on track, make no mistakes. That's easier said than done, of course. But that's the status quo now. Casto and Spooner are fighting now. Let's see what happens here. Oh, Spooner is coming into the pit zone. No fight at all for Casto, who's up to P11 now. Around 21 seconds behind Acuna, who's following Moshe right now. Durden and Moshe in P8 and P9 ahead of Acuna. They're fighting for position, which makes it even more difficult for Acuna to gain a position here, because you have to be very, very careful between or behind two fighting cars. Moshe down the inside, Castro getting a penalty. Ay, big snap of overstay for Acuna here. Moshe Durden still fighting. Acuna with more ERS in the tank. Down the inside. Nice move. Up to P9 for him. Yellow flag, sector 1, sector 2. That was Mumma maybe. No safety car at all. So Acuna up to P9. Half a second behind Durden now. That's the closest battle on track right now. Durden, Acuna and Moshe all within a second. Walterby is getting closer to Rob now. We're still 8/10s behind. As soon as they're close enough for an overtake, we switch to Walterby. But right now we're watching that battle here between Durden, Acuna and Moshe fighting for P8, and Durden running very wide. Yellow flag, sector 2. That's Spooner, I think. Let's see what happens here. I think he only spun, so no safety car right now. Only yellow flags. Acuna making the overtake stick against Durden. Nice move by him. 3 seconds for Rob. So now the shit mix is complete. Rob 2 seconds behind Zhu and gets a penalty. So P2 is out of the window right now. Walterby a second behind Rob. And now Nick and Wisben are the guys who will have an advantage at the moment over those 2 or 3 guys ahead with their penalties. But we're only halfway through right now on lap 8 of 14. Scientist still leading the race with an 8-second gap to Professor Zhu in P1. Let's see if there's still rain. It seems like the rain is no longer there. So now it gets interesting, because if it's not raining, well, there are a few drops of rain are still there, but it's not the same amount that was there at the beginning of the race. So the rain smoothens out a little bit. We're only on lap 8, so if the rain is gone on lap 9 or 10 and it gets drier around lap 12, we could see some pit stops. Spooner is pitting now. Let's see what he does. Oh, he already was on soft. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't the best decision. That's why he spun and had his moment. But as you can see, Professor Zhu with the fastest lap, 146.1. It's still into weather. The track is still wet enough for inters. The rain has almost completely gone. Almost. But let's see how the track will change within the next 2 or 3 laps. Scientist's gap is going down a little bit, 7.2 now, but still comfortable enough. And we have a Ferrari Mumram going round, causing yellow flags in sector 3, but no safety car because you can continue. So closest battle on track right now, Walter B versus Nick. Only half a second behind Nick, and Walter B himself is only 8/10 behind Rob. So a good fight for P3, 4 and 5 here. Wisbon only a second behind Nick, so they both could still gain a lot of positions here. Nick on 40% of ERS, Walter B around 60, Rob around 50, and Wisbon around 70. So Wisbon is the one with the most ERS left at the moment. Of course, in the wet, there's a bigger chance of regaining the ERS because you're braking a little bit earlier, a little bit longer, and you're not on the throttle all the time, which means you can save a little bit more ERS than you can in the dry. The gap to Scientist is moving around 7 seconds at the moment. We're still comfortable enough as he's coming over the line for lap 10 of 14. Rob faking the pit stop here. It's a little bit early for a fake, Rob. A little bit early. Maybe you try around lap 12 again. But that's the tricky thing. It's a very long track. The layout is, it's made for 90-second laps. So if you really pit for soft at the end of the race, you have to have a massive advantage over all these intermediate runners. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the leg with a pit stop on dry tires when the track is not really dry. Right now, it's still really wet enough. You can see the spray from Rob's car, so it's still wet enough for intermediate tires. Although the rain seems like it's gone now. Let's switch to the onboard of Rob because he has clean air. Yeah, there's no rain. There's no rain at the moment. Walterby has a little bit more on his lands because of the spray, of course. Yeah, but let's see what happens because the track is still wet enough. And Scientists already going on the different line on the main straight. Maybe to cool his tires a little bit. Could be a possibility. Because as dry, the more hot your tires get if they're not correct. But right now it's still wet enough for inters. No chance of pitting now on lap 10 of 14. Yellow flag, sector 2-3. I think that's Casto. Yeah, Casto had a moment. Spinning, not losing any position here. Back to Nick, Walterby and Wisbon. The gap has come down, but pretty much Rob, the leading car, off the pack here. Walterby behind the P4. Then Nick and Wisbon without a single penalty at the moment. Only Zoo, Rob, Walter in front with penalties. And Castro Mumram at the back. As you can see on lap 11 of 12, it's still wet. So it seems like it's not drying out enough to switch onto dry tires at the moment. So, yeah, pretty sure that Ian's will stay on until the end of the race. The gap between Scientist and Zoo is around 6.5 seconds now. So Zoo's still gaining a little bit, but not much. Durdan and Moshe fighting now. Again, Durdan gaining P9. Maybe Moshe lost his car there in the S's. Durdan up to P9, Moshe down to P10, and Moshe getting a 3-second time penalty too now. Rob still able to defend from Walterby. Himself is of course able to defend from Nick and Wisbon at the moment. At the back, the gaps between those guys are spread out now. Pelagil is 2.6 behind Wisbon, and then we have 8.5 and another 8.5 second gap, then 2.8, another 4, and then big gaps from Mumram and Spooner. We have pitted a lot of times, so that's completely logical. So we're coming on lap 12 or 14 now. Let's see if the weather really changes now on this lap to make it a 2-lap showdown maybe on softs. But to be honest, I just want to tease you. It's just still wet enough. Professor Zoo getting another penalty. Let's see if that changes anything. Not much. Rob 6 seconds behind, so Zoo needs to get another penalty. And Wisburn is now the penalty club. He has 3 seconds, which brings Pelagio back into the game, who's only 2.3 behind him. Ticunia also getting a penalty now. So a lot of guys are getting now penalties. And Walter is overtaking Rob. Side by side into the nasty left-hander. Onto the main straight. Rob, Nick and Wisburn are now fighting for it. We're switching onto Nick's onboard. And Rob is still there. Rob and Walterby both on 60% of the ERS. Rob trying to go down the inside, not making it stick. And now Nick is there. And we have Wisburn also there, which helps Pelagio a lot, because he's gaining a lot of time now. Only 1.7, 1.5 behind Wisburn now. So he's just waiting on these guys to get penalties and climb up another 1 or 2 positions at the end of the race. Well, of course, he has to stay penalty free, otherwise it's not about to happen. Oh, Wisburn is losing a lot of time. I think Wisburn has damage to his car. He has damage to the right side of his front wing. Absolutely horrible. That's damage. That means he has to pit now, because you're losing a lot of time, especially in the wet. So Wisburn has to come into the pits now to get a new front wing, which gives Pelagio a smooth overtake on him. Nothing to fight for. And he's 2.4 seconds behind Rob now, who has 3 seconds of penalties. And he can still claim P3 or P4. It comes down to penalties of Nick and Pelagio himself. Casto getting 5 seconds for a corner cut, which is normally a typical Casto thing, when he decides to cut 1 or 2 corners at the same time. And he's overtaking Wisburn now, because he was in the pits. Wisburn coming out 2.6 seconds behind Casto at the moment. Scientist's gap to Professor Zoo is down to 5 seconds, but that's not really critical, because Professor Zoo has 6 seconds of penalties, and Scientist can smoothly drive in front now on the penultimate lap, lap 13 of 14, as Rob and Walterby are still going at it. Rob down the inside now for P3. Nick very close behind him. Pelagio is coming closer and closer. And while these guys are fighting hard, Pelagio is just clapping his hands, because he will gain 2 positions at the end of the race. Castor and Durdon fighting now for position. Castor making it stick, P8 for him, Durdon P9. Castor has to drive very, very quick now, because he has 8 seconds of penalties. He can lose 2 positions now, although he gained 2 within the last lap. Pelagio only 1.2 seconds behind those guys. Now, right now, he would be in P4, as Rob and Walterby are still fighting for it. Both on 3 seconds of penalty, so that's for position at the end of the race. Nick very close behind. He can just chill, because he will be on the podium if nothing happens now. If it all stays the same, he will be on the podium. While Rob and Walter are fighting very hard for their spot here. Of course, it's only a fight and a net P4 fight, but those guys are racers, so they go for every position. But now the gap is pretty big, and as you can see, DRS is activated. That means it's enabled. That means that dry tires could be a possibility now, but of course they're not. Wisburn overtaking Casto, and Wisburn is on soft tires. Oh, Good move. Didn't see that coming. Wisbin is on soft, and he's gaining time now. But yeah, he needs to gain 11 seconds on D'Cunha now. I think that's not really manageable. Walterby still P3, Rob P4, Nick and Pelagio very close behind. So if nothing happens now, it will stay the same. Scientists crossing the line in P1, Professor Zoo P2, and now the fight between Walter, Rob, Nick and Pelagio. It will finish over the line with Walter in P3, Rob in P4, but they're losing their positions. Nick is going to be P3, Pelagio P4, Walter P5, Rob P6, D'Cunha coming over the line in P7. Wisbin gained 3 seconds on that last lap. Castro getting a 10-second time penalty. Nice. P8 for Wisbin. And Durdan coming round the last corner now. Over the line. Oi, 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 oi. Crashing into the wall. P9 for him. Castro P10 at the moment. And the gap to Moshe is 18 seconds, and Castro has 18 seconds of penalties. So if Moshe can push a little bit harder now, he could gain P10. But he himself is on 3 seconds of penalty, so it's probably not going to happen. Moshe finishing in P11. Spooner finishing in P13 after being lapped. Mumram, the last car, on track right now. Coming into the last sector in P12. Let's see if he has damage to his wing. No, he's just sliding a lot. Maybe his tires are completely overheated. Mumram, the last man standing here, will finish that race in P12. Only one DNF in Paul the McLaren. Very unfortunate, of course, for him and the McLaren team. But what a solid performance by Scientist. I think we only had him on the stream for the first 1 or 2 laps. After that, he didn't appear again. But that's down to a solid drive for the win here at USA in his Aston Martin. After a very strong and solid performance, handing out a few Formula 1 2021 games to show those guys in the US how it's done. Getting his trophy, winning USA ahead of Professor Zoo in P2 and Nick in P3 for Williams. Nice to see Aston Martin cognizant in P1 here, and that's our final results. Scientist finishing in P1 behind him, Zoo and Nick on the podium. Then we have Pelagio with another strong performance. Walter and Rob again very close together in P5 and P6. D'Cunha P7, Wisbin P8, Durdan P9, Casto in P10, Moshe P11, Mumram finishing in P12 behind him, Spooner and Paul are only DNF here at the USA. That's it for the night from the Einstein League here in the Scientist Reverse Grid League. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching those guys on both tracks in France and the USA. I wish you all a very, very nice weekend. Stay, of course, healthy and safe. That's the most important thing. And we'll hear from each other next weekend when it's coming down to another showdown in the Einstein League. Stay safe.